All right. So I might be talking really loud right now. uh, if I am, it's because I'm actually listening to music right now. I'm actually gonna walk away from the computer so that I don't yell too loud. Um, I am listening to Monster by Kanye West. So I'm listening to this song in particular because I I just did a reclamation um, around some uncomfortable feelings that I had today. There was a moment on this call, this afternoon call, where I won't go into detail, but I felt I felt like I was a dick to somebody. And I don't know if I was. I don't know if they felt like I was. I don't know if other people on the call felt like I was. But I felt like I was. Immediately, I felt like, fuck, I was a fucking dick to that person. So, it's kind of like, ugh! Yeah, anyway, that sound was inspired by the song. I'm a monster. It's kind of the energy. Like, I'm feeling like a fucking dick, feeling like a monster in a way. Um, so yeah, I did a reclamation. I did some focusing after the call, exploring that feeling of being a dick and what was it? What was I experiencing around that feeling? Um, and I'm really enjoying this recording this while listening to music. I don't know what it's gonna be like to listen to, but it's like I have to speak louder to get over the music, and it makes like I have to speak louder, and so I have to have by speaking I have to feel more of what it's like to say this stuff. It's kind of like back in the day when I first started free writing. I used to put on music so that I couldn't hear myself think, and then I would just have to say everything onto the page. But now I'm doing the same thing, but I'm saying it out loud, and I'm fucking sharing it. So that's crazy. Um, Monster Do, Nicki Minaj. Um, this is really fun. So yeah. Anyway, I felt like a dick, and I did a reclamation about being a dick. I hugged that demon, and I'm wondering whether I might just share that with everyone, with all the participants of Shift 30, because maybe that will be helpful to hear. Maybe it will be inspiring to hear me uh, go through that process. I don't know. I don't want to make myself too vulnerable. Maybe it's too soon, so I'm not going to do it right away. But I might do that. If you're listening to this and you're curious to hear that, maybe just DM me and I can share it with you directly. Um, so something else we talked about. Well, part of the reason why I got into this situation where I felt like a dick was because it's been a thing with these calls is, I've never run calls before. I've never led this kind of thing before, and I have been in this sort of struggle internally about how much of an agenda to have, how much to have structure. Okay. That song is done, and now I probably don't need to talk as loud. Yeah, I think I can quit it with the music now. So yeah, I've been wrestling with how much structure I want to have in these calls and how much I want to have an agenda and like control them, basically. And that was sort of what came up in today's call and in other calls. It's like, like I am leading this, but I also, I'm not comfortable with like controlling people. Like I'm one of these people that's interested in this whole non-coercion thing, right? So that's very much a thing for me. I don't want to force people to do things. I don't want to force myself to do things. I don't want to coerce myself into things, and I don't want to do that to other people. It's very uncomfortable for me. Fuck. I should do another session. Hug that fucking demon, right? It's like I'm fucking coercive. I can be fucking coercive if it needs to happen. That's anyway. That would be for another demon hugging session. But I guess what I'm getting at is, yeah, I've been wrestling with this. On one hand, really wanting the calls to be casual, to be unforced, for there to be space for everyone to explore what they want to explore and do things their way, right? Like I don't want to. That was right in the very first in my pinned tweet, right? This thing about Shift 30, like I was like, maybe you do fucking meta, maybe you do Alexander technique, maybe you do fucking Nadera, whatever it is that you do, like keep doing that. I don't want to force you or demand or whatever anything of you. Like do what you do, and that's kind of coming from this place of discomfort with being coercive. And the crazy thing is, like, that's not coercive to be like, hey, I'm making this fucking thing, I'm putting this together and I'm suggesting that we should do it a particular way. Like that's not coercive. In no way am I forcing you to do things my way, right? You're where you fucking are, like 1,000 miles away from me, right? If you want to do it your way, like that's fucking great. Maybe if I was like, if you don't do it my way, you're a fucking piece of shit, that would be a different question. But that's not how it is. I'm just saying that, I'm putting this thing together and I have a way that I think we should all do it. That's not what I said, though. That's not how I have been describing Shift 30 for 30. Definitely not, right? I've been like, do it your way. Whatever is your preferred method, do that. But I'm realizing that is really messy and it's like really confusing. So it's like, what are we even fucking doing? What the fuck is Shift 30? Right? People have been asking for structure. People have been asking for some more concrete like guidance. Like what the fuck do we do? And so progressively, day by day, ever since we started, I've been, getting suggestions, some really great suggestions, and we've been trying them out for the actual calls. That's been good. And in today's call, we talked about that even more because I was like, look, I'm wrestling with this. I'm uncomfortable with being like controlling about how these calls go, you know? I like letting them be a little bit chaotic. I like letting them go wherever they go, but at the same time, something that's really important to me is that we are always coming back to checking in with ourselves. That we're always coming back to be like, am I feeling anything? Is there a felt sense happening? You know? I don't want this to just be 30 days of conversations that are like purely theoretical, and yeah, maybe it's like really interesting on that level conceptually, but if it stays up there, right, and you can't see my hands, but it's like on one level it's all conceptual and intellectual and all very interesting, and that's great, but then it doesn't connect, and there's just this gap, this chasm between that and like our actual felt experience and the felt sense and felt shifts. Then to me, yeah, like fuck, we failed. Like that's not the point of this. The whole point, it's in the fucking name, right? Like I'm saying that with so much intensity, I guess, because it's like a reminder to myself, like it's in the fucking name. Like yeah, it's about felt sense, it's about felt shift. Like if that's not a part of this, then we're doing it wrong, you know. And you can talk about theory all you want, but like in the case of shift 30, I want to be always bringing it back to the felt sense, you know? Like, yeah, let's talk about meta. Yeah, let's talk about Alexander technique. Yeah, let's talk about fucking crying and the Nadera shit and whatever else that you do. IFS, CBT, journaling, dream work, whatever. But let's always check back with ourselves. Let's go slowly enough and maintain enough sensitivity and embodiment during this that we are maintaining awareness of like what's going on inside of us. Is this conversation helping us notice things in ourselves? Because if we're not noticing that stuff, then it's just fucking, I don't use this lightly because I really don't like this term, but like it's mental masturbation, which I guess is kind of shamey to say, but like I mean, what I mean by that is that it's like, yeah, it's all fine and good and it's fun and it feels good, but like, does it change anything? And this thing, Shift 30, is about change. It's not about forcing change, but it's about having a space in which change can occur. As I said on a previous call, maybe it was just yesterday, in my video, it was like, in Genlin's work in a process model, the assumption is that change is fundamental. Process is how things are to begin with. And if they're not moving, if they're not changing, if there's not movement, if the process isn't going forward, then something's stuck. And you need to appreciate the problem. You need to give this problem some space. And that's what focusing is. Giving that thing some space so that it can start moving again. So it's not about fixing things, but it is about change. But it's about creating space so that change can happen. So, yeah. Anyway, again, back to this wrestling with how much to be structured, how much to sort of control and like control the space. And that's what made me feel like a dick today. It was like, I think I butted up against this experience where I was like, I think I need to like put my foot down and be like, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna have the call go this way, not that way. And I felt like I was kind of forceful and maybe a dick and like and kind of aggressive, you know? I don't know what it was like from the outside, but that's how it felt for me. And so that is then what, thankfully, the people on the call allowed me to work through and talk through and do some focusing on. And then I asked for help, and suggestions around how to do this, how to make this more valuable for people. And that idea of like having it be a container and making sure that there is space is like really important, and that structure can actually help us maintain the space, and that having it be like just free form chaotic anywhere it wants to go actually is not the best way to make sure that there's going to be space for everyone, So I want to say some stuff about concretely what those ideas are, what those suggestions were, and what I'm thinking moving forward. So again, this is subject to change and evolve, according to how it is for people. But what I'm thinking right now is like there's two methods, there's two practices that I really want to encourage everyone to try throughout this 30 days. One of those is the demon hugging process that I outlined in the resources document, where you work with your polarities, right? And it's kind of like a combination of things. It's like doing loving kindness meditation and parts work at the same time, and working with these polarities, working with parts that you've kind of disowned, or working with parts that you aspire to be like, but have cut yourself off from, right? And taking those polarities and being like, you know what, I can be both of those things, so that you don't have to fight the thing that you want to disown, and so that you don't have to chase the thing that you want to be. And then you can just be those things, right? And the way that frees yourself to be however you need to be. And you're not spending energy, physical, emotional, mental, intellectual energy, like managing that stuff anymore. It can just be part of you again, because those things are part of you to begin with. So that approach, that very concrete method, is something that I really want everyone in this to try. And I'm going to start bringing that forward more in the calls. Like, let's do that. Let me walk you through that if you are comfortable doing it on the call with everyone else. I'm going to start saying that. So that's one thing. And the other thing is focusing, because really, again, this thing is called Shift 30 for 30. It's based in and inspired by Eugene Genlin's work, by focusing, by a process model. And so I've been kind of too casual about saying like, use whatever method you want. Like, this is based in focusing. It's based and rooted in the felt sense and experiencing felt shifts. And, like that book that I linked to in our resources and in the Shift 30 thread, Focusing Oriented Psychotherapy, that book is about showing how the felt sense can be incorporated into any method you choose. So it's not a competing thing. It's a thing that helps and makes everything more effective, because that's how therapeutic life movement occurs is when you can notice the felt shift and let it move forward in you and grow and shape and take step by step. So, this is not necessarily going to be like we're doing focusing and only focusing. Not even Eugene Genlin advises that. He says very explicitly, he's like, don't only do focusing. But focusing and learning how to feel and become aware of the felt sense is the cornerstone of this whole thing. Again, what I was saying before, it's like shift 30 is not going to work if we're not always coming back to being like, am I noticing some felt senses here? If it stays intellectual, if it gets up in the clouds and we don't come back to our bodies, like, we missed the fucking point. So, yeah, I'm gonna be making a lot more of an effort, a pointed effort, to make this about focusing and to make this about the felt sense. And maybe some of you already understand how that stuff works, but there are a number of you, and I know this, that don't, and that's fine, right? And so it's going to be my job to make sure that that's always front and center. That's like, remember, this is what we're doing here. We're checking in for the felt sense. And I'm going to have to teach that. I'm going to have to, in the calls, in the material, in these videos, I'm going to have to teach about that and explain how does that work? How do you begin to take more notice of the felt sense inside of you? What is a felt shift? How does a felt shift feel? What happens when, like, how do you know if you had one, right? Like, probably a lot of people don't know. Even today, somebody who's like very experienced in energy work, ask that question, right? And it's a good question. So that's going to be something that I'm going to be hammering at way more. It's like, this is about the felt sense. This is about experiencing felt shifts. And yeah, you can do whatever method you want and experience felt shifts, but you have to first understand and be able to work with and notice your felt sense. That's the cornerstone. That's the foundation of all of this. So I'm going to be putting together some more material about that. I've already shared some like book highlights and whatnot, and I'm sharing random tweets and whatnot, and I'm making these videos where I talk about it sometimes. But I'm going to make, I guess, a document that's like intro to the felt sense and to focusing and like the basic steps of focusing. And that's going to be a cornerstone of this whole thing that we do this whole month, And so when it comes to the calls, the way we'll run it going forward, and again, this is subject to evolution, of course, but going forward from here, it's like, I'm going to bring us all together. I'm going to encourage everyone to do whatever method that they want outside of the calls, whatever method that they like best, whether that's journaling, meditation, Alexander technique, focusing, IFS, meta, whatever. Do your thing, But pay attention to what's going on in your body. And if you're not used to that, if you're not already pretty well able to notice what's going on in your body, do the somatic meditation that I shared in the resources. That's what that's for. That's like the foundational practice of just being like, okay, I'm going to spend some time now noticing my body and noticing what's going on in my body from the inside. Because if you can't do that, you can't experience a felt shift because you're not going to feel it. And you're not going to know where to go. You're not going to know what to focus on and like hone in on because you can't feel anything. So you're not going to have any kind of like internal compass because that compass is based in being able to notice and feel your body from the inside and be aware of the felt sense. So if you don't already know how to do that, if you don't already have that sensitivity to your internal, then do the somatic meditation. Try to do it every day. I do it most days, and I have been for like 4 years. You know, it's really, really important. It's really the whole basis for everything else. So, yeah, do the somatic meditations. Notice what's going on in your body. Notice where the tension is. Notice where the ease is in your body. And then, yeah, do whatever other practice you like. But make sure to keep paying attention for your felt sense in that. So then do that in your own time. Then we'll come to the calls and we'll spend a couple minutes, 5 minutes each privately reflecting on what we've been doing on our own time, where we're feeling stuck, where we might want help. And then instead of what I talked about previously, which was like, all right, well, we'll just open it up and like people can talk about what's going on for them. I'm going to say like, look, if you want to, having reflected on what you're experiencing and what you're trying to do and everything like that, let's do some focusing together. Or let's do one of these demon hugging sessions. Like we did one earlier today. It was fucking fun. Everyone had a good time. There was a lot of laughter. There was a lot of smiles. It's powerful stuff. So the instructions for how to do that yourself are in the resources document, but it does help sometimes to be guided through one. And then everyone else can see how it works. And that's really helpful for everyone else to just be able to witness that. Because otherwise it's like, what is this? So if you get to watch it, and you get to hear somebody hugging those demons and like, you know what? They might not be the most alive demons for you, but like we all have those things. Whatever it is that person's uncomfortable with, like in my case earlier, being a dick, I'm not alone in being a dick and having a part of me that's a fucking dick and not being comfortable with being a dick. Like all of us have that to some degree, and our relationship to that is going to be different, but like whatever that is, whatever the person whatever that demon the person is hugging during the session, everyone else gets to see that. And in a way, it's like you get to do your own little demon hugging session by virtue of watching and listening to other people do it. So that's how we're going to do it. That's going to be really like the first hour of our calls. It's like, take a moment to reflect on what you've been doing, where you're stuck, what tensions you're experiencing, right? Like in my case earlier, I was like, fuck, well, I'm kind of wrestling with like wanting this to be open-ended and like casual and unforced, a party, but also I'm wanting to like have some control over this and like have an agenda. I'm wrestling with that. There's these two polarities, and so my demon hugging session earlier and my focusing session earlier was around that, so think about what you're experiencing that might be similar. Are you wrestling with something? There's part of you that wants to do some, part of you that wants to be one way and part of you that doesn't want to be that way and wants to do it another way, right? Like if you're experiencing some inner tension like that, some inner conflict, and you feel comfortable working through that and voicing that in front of the rest of the group, then please, let's do that. And I'll walk you through that process. We'll do a focusing session together. We'll go through the focusing steps so that other people can also see what that looks like and that you can experience it, right? So it's not going to be open-ended anymore, at least that first hour. It's going to be very structured in that way. Reflect, and then whoever's feeling comfortable, if you have a thing, then bring it up. And we will spend some time focusing and hugging those demons, right? And that will be the first hour. And then the second hour, that's extra. That's the party. That's the after party. But the work is going to be happening in the first hour, you know? Because I want both of those things. I want the structure, and I want to teach you the approach that all of this is coming from, that it's all inspired by, the foundation of why I made Shift 30. I want to teach that, and I want to give you the experience of that. And then I also want all of us to connect and share and explore things in a chaotic way, whatever, like let the conversation go where it wants to go. Like that has been incredibly fun too so far, right? So we're going to have both, but there's going to be some more structure as to how it works. So, I think I have ranted plenty this evening, but I just want to say thank you, everybody that's a part of this again. You know, thank you to the people who were on the calls today. One, for coming and hanging out. It was fun to hang out and get to know you guys more. Thank you for helping me do some focusing and work through some areas where I felt stuck. Thank you for helping me in a concrete way about how to structure these calls more so that they can be more beneficial for everyone. Thank you for all of that, you know? It's really amazing. It's really, I mean, I don't know, humbling doesn't feel like the right word, but it's the word that came up. It's like, I didn't call this a beta thing, right? It's not Shift 30 for 30 beta, but like maybe that would have been appropriate because this is the first time it's happening and you are seeing it evolve day by day, and you're being a part of that, and your suggestions are shaping what this thing is, and it's awesome. Like, I really fucking appreciate that because I don't know how to make it the best it can possibly be, right? The way to make it the best it can be depends on you and depends on your experience and depends on you sharing your experience about how it is, what works for you, what you don't like, what you want to get out of it. And so many of you have been sharing that with me, and it's been awesome, and it's making it better day by day. So thank you so much, and until next time, take care, have a beautiful day, sleep well, sweet dreams. Hopefully no nightmares, but if there are, It's just a dream. And you can do some focusing about it in the call whenever you come up and show up next. So, yeah, thank you, all of you. This is really exciting. It's really fun. It's really challenging, but it's a fucking great challenge. So, take care.